Hello, everybody, and welcome to Atheist Sunday School, your one-stop shop for everything Atheist Sunday and school. And boy, do we have a show for you today.
Today we're going over Psalms 61 through 66.
Yes, we are. And then next week we are finishing the second book of Psalms.
That we are.
So this is it's going to be a short one today. There's really not too much commentary, although next week we will have a decent amount. There's some interesting stuff in Smith and Witherington.
Speaking of commentaries, I have the King James Version of the Bible.
I have the English Standard Version, but you know what's more important?
What?
The 100-point show.
Well, okay. What's your 100-point show question?
Who is the first entrant into the 2020 Men's Royal Rumble?
Kofi Kingston.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, I'm just going to guess Kofi Kingston
all the time. Fair enough, yeah.
I'm going to guess The Rock because that's wrong.
That would be amazing, but no, it's not The Rock. The number one entrant is Brock Lesnar.
That was close. It has the word rock in it. I got to get like a point for that.
You get nothing.
All right. Here's my
Royal Rumble's tonight. So excited.
Ooh.
Shanghai Ruilan Baohu San Biotech Unlimited or Biotech Limited is located where?
We're not allowed to say that.
Is it China?
This is a trigger word.
It's
China?
You got 100 points.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I wasn't
instantly demonetized.
I wasn't direct enough.
I was going to say the
China.
Wuhan province.
Oh,
okay.
Perhaps. I don't know. I can't be more direct than that. It's China.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Asia.
Oh, well.
Wow.
Earth.
That would have Earth, yes.
By technicality, yeah.
All right. How many points do I get for all my correct answers? Because they don't matter.
You get nothing.
3.
I got the points first.
You get 3.
I'll take
3 points.
They don't matter and we don't keep track, so enjoy.
Oh, we're keeping track. Once you hit 100 trillion points, you can redeem it for one
that
penny.
number
That
went
will
up.
never happen.
I feel like that number went up.
It probably did.
Announcements.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is your last week, the last 5 or so days, I think, that you can get 10% off if you use the promo code LOOK
in all caps.
Yes. And this is 10% off on everything at our Teespring store. So you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you haven't seen it yet, Council of Constantinople video, I thought it turned out very well.
Yeah.
It's well done. People should go ahead and recommend that because, sometimes those blow up a little and we like
I would really like
Lawrence's effort not go in vain.
Yeah.
So.
It's well received for the people that have seen it so far.
Thank you if you have already.
Yeah,
yes.
definitely.
Thank you to all of our viewers for all of their viewership.
Yes, we appreciate that very much. How is, I know you recovered some of the info, right, for your esoteric Nazism thing?
Yeah, I worked through a restructure. I'm moving information around.
Sure.
Basically.
And that's going to be quite a long project.
I also have some notes that I still have to go over and recover if I can find them.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, but we can hop into the readings. There weren't really that many announcements. Although I think I would like to hear what the people think of this idea. A video on Akhenaten. It is, he was Egypt's heretic king, basically. He turned the country monotheistic for a time.
By the way, that's a great name.
Akhenaten.
Akhenaten, heretic king.
Yeah.
That's just sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds awesome.
There you go.
Fantastical, even.
Yeah. Anyways, so you said already that you have the King James version of the Bible.
You said that you have the English Standard Version of the Bible.
That's amazing and
But
correct.
did you tell them that we also have the Hebrew Bible, a translation with commentary by Robert Alter?
I did not, but did you tell them that we have the Holy Scriptures according to some Jews?
I did not, but did you tell them that we have the new King James version?
Oh my God, I totally forgot about that. But did you tell them that we have the Old Testament survey from the New Interpreter's Bible?
No, did you tell them that we have the Oxford Companion to the Bible?
I don't think I did, but I highly doubt you told them that we have Erdman's commentary on the Bible.
I didn't, but did you tell them that your favorite book on the Book of Psalms by Sarna is right there?
No. Did you tell them that your favorite book, Psalms Old and New by Ben Witherington, was here?
No. Did you tell them that your second favorite book, The Origins of Biblical Monotheism, is also there?
I did not.
Wow.
Man,
Guys, this was the worst thing. I love it, but it's terrible.
And which ones are we actually referencing today, Lawrence?
Just Erdman's, honestly. Although next week we will have quite a lot of stuff from Witherington's book.
Yeah,
and from Smith's book.
And altered.
Yeah, obviously. That one's just a given.
Just a given. It's a decent commentary. Tell me if you want me to move the coffee.
All right, no, it's all good for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Psalm 61. To the chief musician upon Negina. Another instrument.
Yeah, so 61 for the lead player on stringed instruments.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just whatever at the time.
Yeah, just whatever.
Lose the distinction. Thanks.
A psalm of David. Hear my cry, O God. Attend unto my prayer. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee. This is a literal end of the earth. There are literal ends.
I don't think this one is literal, but I mean, the Bible does presume, it doesn't exactly teach flat Earth, quote unquote, but it does presume it because that's just ancient cosmic geography.
'Twas the style at the time.
It was the style at the time.
Right.
So it doesn't like teach it overtly. It's just kind of assumed.
No, it's
That's why
describing an occult ritual through which you literally go to the end of the earth and cry out to Yahweh.
Hey, this isn't First Enoch. We're in the Psalms.
Oh, shit. When my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. Is the rock that is higher than I a reference to that mountain that God's supposed to be on?
No, it's just God.
The Hebrew syntax is crabbed, but given that rock, tzur, regularly recurs in Psalms as a synonym for an impregnable fortress, the sense would seem to be that when the speaker's heart fails within him under the murderous assault of the foe, God provides him a safe refuge.
Okay. I will abide in thy tabernacle forever. I will trust in the covert of thy wings. Selah. For thou, O God, hast heard my vows. Thou hast given me the heritage of those that fear thy name. Thou wilt prolong the king's life, and his years as many generations. That was a rather strange jump from, like, protecting from the enemies, and all of a sudden it's like, thou wilt prolong the king's life.
So this petition on behalf of the king, which turns the supplication into a royal psalm, is puzzling because the speaker, until this point, appears to be making an entreaty about his own personal plight. Either he identifies the fate of the nation with his own fate, so that the enemies threatening the nation are imagined as menacing him personally, or these two verses have been spliced in from another psalm. Although I could completely see how they would, see the protection of a king to kind of include the protection of the people.
He shall abide before God forever. "O prepare mercy and truth, which may preserve him." This is referencing the king.
Yeah.
"So will I sing praise unto thy name forever, that I may daily perform my vows." Presumably, this is a reference to the morning and evening prayers, like reciting the Shema. I
Maybe,
tried.
or just like a daily thing.
Yeah, I
Not
tried
necessarily.
reading the Talmud, and
I'm sorry, it's a horrible read.
Like it was just paragraph after paragraph about when to recite the Shema.
It is ridiculous to read. It is a bunch of rabbis quoting a bunch of other rabbis, sometimes quoting other rabbis about their opinions on stuff.
Yeah.
That's my favorite resource, Fiduciary. I love it when it goes down the vine 4 times. That's amazing. That telephone game's got to keep it all good and ready to go.
Not even just a telephone
yeah.
game. It's just, it's just so tedious to read.
Yeah, it is.
But anyways, that was the end of Psalm 61.
If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like or a dislike. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't
it's
really
matter. The engagement that helps.
The engagement matters. In fact, I already see people talking in the chat. That's great. I love people talking in the chat. Do that because engagement helps.
Yeah, if you want to preach Jesus at us, then
go ahead. Yeah.
We're fine with it.
I have to read it all, so thanks. Real fun.
Yeah, we actually, after the show, we make Chris read every single Jesus comment.
No, I'm just cunningly aware of what's going on. I don't say much sometimes.
Yeah, we're trying to convert Chris.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Just him, though.
Just me. Yeah. The guy who never believed in anything.
Anyways, that was Psalm 61.
And Erdman's actually has stuff on Psalm 62.
Yeah, on Psalm 62 it does. But let's hop into Psalm 62 then.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get us started here. To the choir master, according to Jeduthun, a psalm of David.
So the Jeduthun.
That's popped up before, I think.
Yeah, I think so. Either this is an opaque musical term or it might refer to a particular group of Levitical choristers. When the term appears in 39:1, the preposition attached to it is for, and it is translated as a proper noun. Here, the preposition is on.
Huh, okay, weird. For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken. Yeah, I was going to talk about the whole alone thing, because there should be some commentary on that.
There's
in both Erdman's and Alter.
Only in God is my being quiet. From him is my rescue. Erdman says, the Hebrew says literally, toward God. The emphatic only, ach, begins 6 different lines in this poem, 4 of them referring to God, 1 antithetically to the relentless, malevolent intentions of the speaker's enemies, and 1 to the ephemerality and insubstantiality of human existence. The references in the poem to enemies connects it generically with the supplication, but its leading edge is an affirmation of trust in God. This feeling is expressed with the most affecting simplicity, beginning here with the idea that in or through God, the speaker's inner being, nephesh, finds quiet, is at peace.
Yes, and it's I noted this in Erdman's.
Yes.
But it's also kind of interesting how only God and only humans are referred to.
Right, and you outlined this in Erdman's, but we're going to run into it in the poem anyway.
Sure. Yeah.
So basically you're going to see these dichotomies set up over time, and it's going to continually be like only this, only that, for God alone, and so on.
Yeah. How long will all of you attack a man to batter him? Like a leaning wall, a tottering fence? They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse. Selah. So very backhanded kind of people here.
There is just one bit here from his high place. Alter says the Hebrew mise'eto is obscure, but it might derive from a verb that means to lift. So
yeah, because it's definitely a different term than because high place, when we're talking about the high places, is I think it's bamot. I think that's the word, but this one is different.
Definitely.
Yeah. So it's not the same high place.
Right.
For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be shaken. On God rests my salvation and my glory. My mighty rock, my refuge is God.
So this is like
kind of the same theme from earlier.
Right. It's a continual refrain, right? Because at the beginning, they set up God being the rock and rescue and the stronghold. And they're just returning to the same kind of imagery over time throughout the poem.
In fact, it looks like this is a copy of verse 2. At least verse 6 is. That's what it looks like. Because verse 2 is, he alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken.
Alters, well, it's verse 3 and 7 for Alter, but he says, when these words, I shall not stumble, from verse 3 recur here, they lack the problematic adjective rabbah. For verse 3, I don't think I read this. It says, the adverbial rabbah in the Hebrew sounds peculiar because it is adjectival in form, meaning abundant or much. One wonders whether there is a missing feminine noun that should precede it, such as et rabbah, for long, literally much time. And in verse 3, he translated as, I shall not stumble long, whereas here he translates it as, I shall not stumble.
Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us, Selah. Those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. In the balances they go up. They are together lighter than a breath.
Read your verse 9 again.
Those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. In the balances, they go up. They are together lighter than a breath. So, like, this is obviously about people, and they are nothing, comparing it to, like, the ultimate nature of God.
Right. The translation here is very different. Alter says, only breath, humankind. The sons of man are a lie.
Yeah.
On the scales altogether, they weigh less than a breath. He says in the commentary, the psalmist now, after the segment marking Salah, adds a new element to this meditation on the meaning of trust in God, an Ecclesiastian reflection on the flimsy, fleeting nature of human life. The term hevel.
Good old fleeting nature. I love it.
Yeah. Hevel, breath or vapor, what the King James Version abstracts. Vapor, yeah. The King James abstracts it to vanity. Let me see that.
Vanity, okay.
Yeah. What? Surely men of low degree are vanity, and men of high degree are a lie.
Ah, come on, King James. We were told that you were the best, that you were the absolute best translation. And what do you give us? Nothing but vanity.
Yeah. He further says for the bit that the scales are all weighted the same way.
Sure.
He says the Hebrew syntax looks scrambled, but the general sense is clear. In a move of intensification, the poet, having invoked the proverbial equation of human life with a mere breath, now invites us to visualize all of humanity being placed in one pan of a scale and a mere breath in the other. The pan with humankind would rise higher, for even a breath is more substantial.
Man. All right. Verse 10.
And for breath, they continue to use the Havel. terminology. It's not ruach.
Sure. But put no trust in extortion. Set no vain hopes on robbery. If riches increase, set not your heart on them. Once God has spoken, twice have I read this. So he's probably, is he repeating himself or something? This next portion here. That power belongs to God, and that to you, O Lord, belongs steadfast love, for you will render to a man according to his work. Is this supposed to be a reference?
He says, one thing God has spoken, two things have I heard.
Is there not a note on that?
No, there's only a note.
I feel like there should have been.
For the last verse, it says, this line lacks any parallelism, rhythmic, syntactic, or semantic in the Hebrew. It may be set here as a kind of prose coda to the poem, but is a fitting conclusion to the quiet eloquence of the psalm, summing up the speaker's sense that he can trust in God because God will mete out to each man according to his deserts.
Sure. It's just weird because once God has spoken, twice have I heard this.
I think that, in the rough sense, it would be something like God has one message that is delivered, but we as individual humans confuse it, right? Because we interpret it in multiple ways where there's one true interpretation, right?
Sure. I can see that, but twice have I heard this. And then he goes on to talk about the power of God and, of course, rendering to a man according to his work. Mm. Interesting. Either way, sadly, we don't have any commentary on that. Wish we kind of did. That one was kind of interesting.
Now, Justin McClure's version that he's reading out of says, one thing God said, these two things which I heard, and sets up the strength of God and the kindness as the things which are heard. So that is a possibility if that translation is more accurate.
I get that it's a setup for the sentence.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't sure if this was a reference to something.
It doesn't say any reference.
Yeah. Because, I don't remember that exactly. But either way.
Yeah, either way. If you're enjoying the stream so far, give us a like or a dislike. Share it with your friends, family, neighbors, countrymen, your boss.
Subscribe.
Your employees.
Share.
If you are a boss. Actually, if you're a boss and you have employees, pay them to watch our stream.
Yeah, do that. That is a good way to spend your money. In fact, there is not a better way to spend your money. So do that.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, but let's continue.
Yep. Psalm 63.
Yes.
A psalm of David when he was in the wilderness of Judah.
Oh, wilderness of Judah, huh?
Yeah, you remember that, right?
Yeah, kind of. The most likely moment for this allusion to the David story is when he is hiding out from Saul, precisely in this region. The superscription latches onto the evocation of a wasteland in verse 2, though that evocation might in fact be only figurative. Okay. Which, that happens quite a lot.
Yeah, it does. O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is.
Yeah, that sounds way more figurative.
I thought this was the land of milk and honey.
Oh, yeah.
Surprisingly, all of the milk went bad, and thousands of insects have swarmed the land to devour the sugary honey.
Also, this is, you have to remember that the superscription, the very beginning of it was probably placed there later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, to see thy power and thy glory, so as I have seen thee in the sanctuary. So apparently they have had a personal interaction.
That is verse 2 for you, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in the sanctum, I beheld you. That's so sad. Beheld.
Ooh.
Seeing your strength and your glory. The note here is given the fluidity of verb tenses in biblical poetry, this could also be construed as a wish for future consummation. But it is at least as plausible that the speaker, achingly longing for a God from whom he feels distant, remembers a time when he stood in the temple and beheld God's glorious presence.
Right. You think that adds on to the likelihood that there was a statue of Yahweh?
I mean, maybe not necessarily, because they always talk about, the presence of God without necessarily talking about the temple itself. Like, because in some of the individual laments, even like they want the presence of God to be with them. So I don't think this is necessarily
right. But actually, when you behold something, you're looking at it, right? That's why they translate it to look. So that, and other times when we see references to looking at God, like in the animal apocalypse that we read yesterday in First Enoch, a lot of the time they're talking about how fearsome and overwhelming he is.
Sure, yeah.
Right? This is pretty different than that.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. But I still don't think it would show. I don't think it would lend any credence to the statue of Yahweh thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Although if you want a good argument for the Ark of the Covenant being a statue of Yahweh in the temple, you can read Thomas Romer's The Invention of God. He's got a chapter on it. I think it's a pretty good book.
Well, that makes me angry, and I'm really hyped about it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of laid back. Enjoy your coffee. Enjoy your mid-Sunday instead of church. You've got us to babble on about.
Hashtag better than church.
It's just a place to hang out and hear us talk.
That's right.
I didn't think it was crazy.
Make it happen. Hashtag better than church.
Oh, wow.
Anyways, because thy loving kindness is better than life, my lips will praise thee. Thus will I bless thee while I live. I will lift up my hands in thy name. My soul shall be satisfied as with marrow and fatness, and my mouth shall praise thee with joyful lips. The marrow and fat obviously being cooking ingredients.
Yeah.
When I remember thee upon my bed and meditate on thee in the night watches, because thou hast been my help, therefore in the shadow of thy wings will I rejoice. My soul followeth hard after thee. Thy right hand upholdeth me. But those that seek my soul to destroy it shall go into the lower parts of the earth. They shall fall by the sword. They shall be a portion for foxes. Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this is, kind of the lowest of the low, like dog food, basically.
They don't even get a burial. They get eaten by wild animals.
Yeah, they're not worthy of even being, you said it, burials. They're not worthy of that. They are dog food.
Right.
Fox food.
This psalm changes a lot. So just this last verse here. But the king shall rejoice in God. Everyone that sweareth by him shall glory. But the mouth of them that speak lies shall be stopped. So
there's actually a note on this. The appearance of the king at the end of the psalm that all along has expressed the feelings of one person is surprising. We actually had that in Psalm 61 too. Mm-hmm. Either it has been spliced in editorially as a public conclusion, a procedure that appears to have been used for endings of quite a few psalms, or the speaker somehow associates the enemies threatening him with enemies of the nation, which, pointed out also that was a possibility earlier. Yeah.
Well, I just find it strange because in verses 1 through 8, it's very clearly supplication.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But then verses 9 and 10 talk about enemies of the poet who are like evil that need to be destroyed and eaten by foxes, and then it becomes just for one verse a royal psalm.
Sure.
Right. But if you removed that royal psalm part, it would still be strange for verses 9 and 10.
He does have a note on that as well. So at least in the Hebrew version, verse 10, they've sought out my life. Only now does the familiar element of threatening enemies come into the psalm, but it remains background rather than foreground, and no sooner are the enemies mentioned than their wished-for defeat is imagined, because of the speaker's trust in God's protection, as a virtually accomplished fact. He doesn't talk about its unity, but yes, I would definitely agree that it does seem to come out of nowhere.
And that's the end of Psalm 63.
That's the end of Psalm 63.
Do you hear something?
I think I do. That's weird.
Something really
Usually
strange.
I'm talking for a while and then I hear it, but now it's different.
It's like,
Behold, I am your Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I want to let all you heathens and sinners know that I support this wonderful episode of Atheist Sunday School. Lawrence and Reuben try their very best to bring you the true glory of the Bible, and they need your help. They have provided links to their Patreon page and other social media just for you. Once again, my name is Jesus Christ, and this is Milwaukee Atheists. The Lord is with them. God bless.
wow, thanks, Jesus.
Jesus Christ.
Holy crap.
Amazing. What a great guy.
Yep.
Never seen a better guy in my life.
Let's do it to it. Let's get into Psalm 64.
Yes, Psalm 64. I'll read it, and it's a pretty short one, too.
Yep.
To the choir master, a psalm of David. Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint.
So the opening words of the poem explicitly announce its status as a supplication.
Hear my voice, O God, in my complaint. Preserve my life from dread of the enemy. Hide me from the secret plots of the wicked, from the throng of evildoers. Now, this is where I feel the last few verses of Psalm 63 could have been.
Yeah.
Like, it would make way more sense with this.
I like Alter's translation of the last part of this verse. He says, from the hubbub of the wrongdoers.
The hubbub
of the wrongdoers. That's a children's book title right there.
He has a note on it. From the hubbub, the Hebrew rigsha indicates an agitated condition. It is the same root as the verb in Psalm 2, verse 1. Why are the nations aroused?
The best translation he could come up with was hubbub.
He says, given that the malice of the evil men here is expressed in slanderous speech, quote, who whetted their tongues like a sword, hubbub seems an appropriate term for this particular agitation.
Okay, thanks, Alter. So anyway, from the hubbub of the evildoers, who whet their tongues like swords, who aim bitter words like arrows, shooting from ambush at the blameless, shooting at him suddenly and without fear. They hold fast to their evil purpose. They talk of laying snares secretly, thinking, who can see them?
So there's
found them, they were obvious.
Yeah.
Alter translates this as they encourage themselves with evil words. They recount how traps should be laid. They say who will see them.
Yeah, so either way, it seems like through this psalm, the author is afraid of, I guess in a way being wrongly accused or wrongly hurt for whatever reason.
But he comments on the words encourage and recount. The precise meaning of the two verbs hazek and saper, common enough elsewhere, is obscure in this particular context, and there may be a textual problem.
Well, either way, I think we get the idea, especially with the imagery.
Right, we get the idea.
And you know what? I see 19 people. We should see 19 likes.
Or dislikes.
Those are fine too.
Yeah.
Let's continue. They search out injustice, saying, "We have accomplished a diligent search, for the inward mind and heart of a man are deep. But God shoots his arrows at them. They are wounded suddenly. They are brought to ruin with their own tongues turned against them." So yeah, it really, this is very poetic, right? It starts off with these guys have these evil tongues like swords, and they have these arrows.
This statement.
And now God is destroying them.
Yeah, on this statement in verse 7 or verse 6, Alter says, "Let them search out foul deeds. We have hidden them from the utmost search in a man's inward self, and deep is the heart." He says for hidden. The Masoretic text says tamnu. We are finished. But several manuscripts show tamanu with a tet rather than a ta. We have hidden. And from the utmost search, the literal sense of the Hebrew is a searched out search. The apparent meaning is that we have hidden our lethal intentions in the most deeply buried place.
I mean, yeah, that would make sense. Where was I? Right, God's destroying them. So they are brought to ruin with their own tongues turned against them. All who see them will wag their heads. Then all mankind fears. They tell what God has brought about and ponder what he has done. Let the righteous one rejoice in the Lord and take refuge in him. Let all the upright in heart exult. And that's the end of Psalm 64.
Yeah, with that last verse there, it is quite different than the rest of the psalm, and it is not a bookend, because at the beginning he's like,
there's nothing there.
Yeah. So is it possible that this was one of those editions that have been mentioned that come from like a stock verses?
Sure. This definitely, I feel like we've definitely seen something about let all the upright in heart exult, or something about them exulting. So I could definitely see that being a possibility. There's no commentary on it in Erdman's, but yeah, that seems pretty possible. But anyways, yeah, since that was the end of Psalm 64, we can hop right into Psalm 65. Make sure you guys drop a like or a dislike if you are enjoying or not enjoying the stream.
And if you'd like to enjoy the stream more, you can go on our Amazon wish list and buy us books.
Yeah, they're all there. A bunch of commentaries, especially on Second Maccabees, but we'll talk about it at the end of the show a little more.
Force a dopamine-induced coma. Do it.
Ooh,
Oh, and also, I forgot to mention this. Our drive is still going on.
Yeah, our alchemy drive. What are we at? Like 470?
Still 470. Yep.
470. Once we hit 666, we're going to be doing some kind of transmutation. I've been referencing a few different manuals. I've been checking out the Chinese alchemy, what the Taoists do. They talk about changing phosphorus into different kinds of phosphorus. Maybe not the best thing to do here in the basement, but if all else fails, we can try that.
Yeah, we'll be all right. Maybe we'll find the cure to coronavirus.
Oh yeah,
yep,
totally.
That's gonna be us.
Through alchemical means.
I would think that those Taoist alchemists in China would figure it out faster than us.
No, we got it.
Okay.
It's a game of chance. We'll play it.
Psalm 65. To the chief musician, a psalm and song of David. So apparently normal psalms are not also songs, even though they're to chief musicians all the time.
Yeah, for the lead player, a psalm. For David, a song. Yeah, that is a weird one.
Okay. Praise waiteth for thee, O God, in Zion. That's weird. O God, in Zion.
Well, keep reading, because it's about the temple, basically.
Okay.
So.
And unto thee shall the vow be performed. I just haven't encountered there's been oh God of Jerusalem, but God in
Zion, yeah.
That's weird. O thou that hearest prayer, unto thee shall all flesh come. Iniquities prevail against me. As for our transgressions, thou shalt purge them away. Blessed is the man whom thou choosest, and causest to approach unto thee, that he may dwell in thy courts. We shall be satisfied with the goodness of thy house, even of thy holy temple.
Yeah, so the strophe forms an inclusio in the sense that it begins with Zion, verse 1, and ends with your holy temple.
Right. You know,
yeah. So
we keep getting references to temples in Psalms of David.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
There was no temple yet.
Well, there were a bunch of them, just not to the one you're talking about.
So the received text on the holiness of your temple, the received text, which, by the way, for those that don't know, is the text that was translated into the King James. So the received text says Kadosh, which would yield the Holy One of your temple, but several ancient versions register Kodesh, holiness.
Yeah, I think Kodesh sounds better, holiness, and it makes it more thematic being a Psalm of David.
Definitely.
Right. By terrible things in righteousness wilt thou answer us, O God of our salvation, who art the confidence of all the ends of the earth, and of them which are far off upon the sea, which by his strength setteth fast the mountains, being girded with power, which stilleth the noise of the seas, the noise of their waves, and the tumult of the people. They also that dwell in the uttermost parts are afraid at thy tokens. Thou makest the outgoings of the morning and evening to rejoice.
Yeah, so this is very much like talking about just like in the previous psalm, or in the one before that, I forget, talking about the universality of God.
Mm-hmm. Thou visitest the earth and waterest it.
You pay mind to the earth and soak it.
Yeah. Thou greatly enrichest it with the river of God, which is full of water. Thou preparest them corn when thou hast so provided for it.
It's interesting that yours says corn, because this one just says grain.
Does yours have a reference to the river of God?
It says God's stream is filled with water. But I'm guessing that's also, kind of figurative.
Right. Though I wonder,
because like about bountiful and plentiful. And
but we have
stuff.
references to different rivers as figurative references for actual rivers, right? Like,
I mean,
there are things that talk about the Nile, for example, that don't say the Nile River in Egypt.
Sure, but I definitely think that because this one, in the context of being this psalm where they're talking about his almighty power, and it doesn't really look like they're referencing a specific time. My best guess would be that this is in fact figurative.
I don't think in Genesis God created water, did he?
Well, water. Remember, there was primordial water.
Yeah, there was darkness on the face of the deep.
Yeah.
Strange.
I mean, eventually he created all the stuff that would be, we would call seas and stuff.
Right. Thou waterest the ridges thereof abundantly.
Which, by the way, that's a reason that the first verse in Genesis is more correctly translated as not in the beginning God created, yada, 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 but when God created.
Mm-hmm. Thou waterest the ridges thereof.
Also, I love how this is green screened out. I just love that.
It is funny to see the text just float there.
Thou settlest the furrows thereof, thou makest it soft with showers, thou blessest the springing thereof. Thou crownest the year with thy goodness, and thy paths drop fatness. They drop upon the pastures of the wilderness, and the little hills rejoice on every side. The pastures are clothed with flocks, the valleys are covered over with corn. They shout for joy. They also sing. And that's the end of Psalm 65.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Amazing. Power of God, everybody.
Yes.
Drop a
this
like or a
is-
dislike.
This is much different than the earlier one that we saw, Psalm 63, where they're talking about the wilderness and this place where no water is.
Yeah.
And,
And this
here
is the
it's-
exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's just water.
Now, presumably, the Zion that's being referenced in Psalm 65 is not so far away from the Judah that's referenced in Psalm 63.
Yeah, probably not that far. It's probably almost exactly in the same spot.
Yeah.
I know, crazy.
Yep.
All right. So that was the end of Psalm 65.
And now, execute Psalm 66.
You guys
Thank you,
have been,
Emperor.
you guys have been saying this like
All day.
since last week.
Yep.
Also, I have no idea what that's a reference to.
You would not. You have a Star Wars shirt on right now, but you would not.
It's a Star Wars thing.
So in
Okay.
Star Wars, when the Emperor gains power and becomes the Emperor, his first order is to execute Order 66, which is for the clone troopers to murder all of the Jedi.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sure this will have just as much stuff.
Yeah, this will be just as good as that.
Oh, yeah.
To the choir master, a song, a psalm.
So before we get into it, the psalm consists of two major sections, namely 66:1 through 12, a collective hymn, and verses 13 through 20, an individual song of thanksgiving. Although some exegetes read these two parts as originally two separate psalms, the collective praise in verses 1 through 12 does provide an effective context for the individual song of thanksgiving in verses 13 through 20.
Well, I guess we will have to make up our minds when we get there.
Yeah, we must.
Yeah. Shout for joy to God, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name.
So this is obviously a Thanksgiving psalm.
Yeah, no shit. Give to him glorious praise. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. So great is your power that your enemies come cringing to you. All the earth worships you and sings praise to you. They sing praises to your name, Selah. So yeah, that's a lot of dick sucking.
Yes.
Yeah, obviously very thankful. Come and see what God has done. He is awesome in his deeds toward the children of man. You know, he just talked about, so great is your power that your enemies come cringing to you. Those are still the children of man.
Yes.
So anyways, look how great he is.
Yeah.
He turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot.
As in a number of other psalms, the miraculous crossing of the Sea of Reeds, telescoped with the crossing of the Jordan under Joshua, is evoked in a defining instance of God's intervention in history on behalf of his people. The association of these early water crossings with military triumph picks up the quailing of enemies in verse 3 and anticipates God's powerful domination of nations later on.
I forget the exact verses, and I even forget the exact books. But initially, when the initial account of crossing the, I forget if it was the Jordan River or the Red Sea, but they have, I think it was probably the Red Sea. There were two contradictory accounts. I think there was one in Exodus and one in Deuteronomy. The Deuteronomy one was a retelling, obviously. But they have two contradictory accounts.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure that was about the Red Sea.
I think so.
Okay.
No. I think it's about the Jordan.
Was it about the Jordan? Because there was one where it says it dried up, and then another one where it says something else.
We'll have to look back into it. But also about this, the second strophe begins with an imperative. This is from Eerdmans. While the first strophe speaks in general terms of the deeds of God, God's deeds of salvation are more closely defined here as the passage through the Sea of Reeds, verse 6, and also the passage through the Jordan. The Exodus from Egypt, also Exodus 14 through 15, and the entry into the land, Joshua 3, are seen as God's supreme deeds of deliverance.
Those are weird that those would be the supreme deeds.
Yeah. I guess they're the most, like, fantastical, like something that humans presumably could not do.
I mean, you'd think that the plagues would be under there, maybe.
Right.
But I guess that wouldn't be a deliverance one.
Well, there are other plagues, right?
Sure.
That humans could do. The slaughtering of the firstborn, humans could accomplish that, but having a sea part and then come back together after you're done crossing through it is a little more difficult for
I guess because he said specifically deliverance.
Right.
So I guess that was the important part there.
Yes.
I don't know, but still, I feel like there might be another good candidate for that. Either way, let's continue.
Yes.
So God is amazing. He turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot. There did we rejoice in him, who rules by his might forever, whose eyes keep watch on the nations. Let not the rebellious exalt themselves. Selah.
Selah.
Bless our God, O peoples. Let the sound of his praise be heard, who has kept our soul among the living and has not let our feet slip. For you, O God, have tested us. You have tried us as silver is tried. And I feel like there's going to be a lot more metaphors coming up here.
Yeah, once you get through a couple more verses, I'll reference this stuff.
Sure. You brought us into the net. You laid a crushing burden on our backs. You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and through water, yet you have brought us out to a place of abundance.
So,
before your quoting here, it's ridiculous where they literally said that you have not let our feet slip, and then references times when he has let their feet slip.
Right. It is very odd. But let me get into this. The trials, where they say God has tested them, did not come about by chance, but were sent by God and are witnesses of his great power. Despite the powerful imagery of this description, it is so ambiguous that it is difficult to link it to a specific historical situation. It could refer to Exodus, the journey through the wilderness, the passage through the Jordan, or the occupation of the land, but it also could refer to a specific situation at the time of writing the psalm. Now, Alters says, some interpreters have taken the imagery of testing through fire in this verse and the language of the next two verses, for verse 10 in here and 9 for you, as expressions of the ordeal of exile that began in 586 BCE. There is nothing, however, in the formulations here that explicitly refers to exile, and the poet could easily have in mind the Judahite. I skipped a line.
Okay.
The poet could easily have in mind any moment of impending disaster when powerful enemies threaten to overwhelm the Judahite state. The speaker from verse 13 onward assumes that the temple exists, so either the whole psalm is a pre-exilic, or one must assume that an earlier psalm has been tacked on editorially to a later one. The switch to first-person singular beginning in verse 13 might seem to argue for this assumption, though there are many psalms that move from first-person plural to singular or the other way around, taking for granted that the fate of the individual and the fate of the nation are indivisible.
Because this is still obviously part of a Thanksgiving psalm, but it's just very different in style.
Right, and where yours says the great ease, I think, you brought us out to great ease.
Oh, yeah, you brought us out to a place of abundance.
Right. He says the Masoretic text says Leroia, which would mean abundant drink or satiety. But the Septuagint and two other ancient versions read Larawaha. Larawah.
You all right there?
It's WAHAH.
Okay.
A difference
beautiful.
of one letter, which seems more likely. So he says great ease instead of abundance.
Okay. Neat.
Yeah.
I will come into your house with burnt offerings. I will perform my vows to you, that which my lips uttered and my mouth promised when I was in trouble. I will offer to you burnt offerings of fattened animals. With the smoke of the sacrifice of rams, I will make an offering of bulls and goats. Now, this seems kind of ancient, like more ancient than, like more than exilic. This seems like maybe even during an Assyrian period, right? Because this is, you know, where they're still doing sacrifices at the time, or maybe this is Levitical.
Mm-hmm. Does yours have a salah there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's more sacrificial. I feel like this might be definitely older.
Yeah.
Although
says
it's also
incense
possible
of rams.
Yeah, it's also possible that this comes from the post-exilic period, but from just the group of Levites.
Yeah. People who were doing animal sacrifices.
Yeah. But this, because I don't know if this person is a priest or not. He might be. He's
Maybe.
very priestly in his speech so far. So I guess he would have the right to do that sacrifice.
I guess.
Yeah. So I guess it really just depends if this person was a priest or not. Anyways. Come in here, all you who fear God, and I will tell what he has done for my soul. I cried to him with my mouth, and high praise was on my tongue.
So the Hebrew literally says exultation under my tongue.
Yeah, I have some notes here also here. Yeah, under. Yeah. Yeah, I have a note for under, and instead of on, it says under, and then the other note for my tongue is, and he was exalted with my tongue. So yeah. Exalted with, and high praise was on my tongue. If I had cherished iniquity in my heart, the Lord would not have listened. But truly God has listened. He has attended to the voice of my prayer. Blessed be God, because he has not rejected my prayer or removed his steadfast love from me.
This concluding line, as is evident in the translation, is unbalanced and does not scan. Because there are lines like this one at the end of several other psalms, one suspects that it may have been an editorial practice, if not a poetic practice of the original psalmist, on occasion to add a line of prose summary as a kind of coda to the psalm. Eerdman says...
Yeah, this is very similar to the end of 64. Like, obviously it fits in with the context of a Thanksgiving psalm.
Right.
But it is ever so slightly different in style. I feel like he would have talked more about steadfast love, because in all the other psalms that we've read where they bring up steadfast love, it comes up multiple times.
Yeah. This is more of an animal sacrifice psalm.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about that. That does come up, but it's...
Eerdmans says Psalm 66 indicates that faith cannot be practiced except within the context provided by a community of faith, and that it needs to be expressed in the individual's personal relationship with God.
Yeah, so that could mean that this is, pretty much what I said before. Either or, very old, or not really, doesn't have to be that old.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's so close. The thing is that's so frustrating is it's so close to being dateable, but it isn't, and that's really annoying.
Right, and it's potentially even two different psalms. So
yeah, man, what a bummer.
What a bummer.
Anyways, that is the end of Psalm 66 and the end of the readings for the day. Thank you for joining us. That was a lot of fun, I think.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. You know, next week we are finishing the second book of Psalms.
Yes. And before you go, make sure you check out our Patreon
and our Amazon wish list.
If you want us to cover things in depth, or make like a video and about a certain topic, if you get us books on these things, we will source them. We will read them. It will happen.
Yes, we will. And you'll get better content.
Yeah, you'll get amazing content. Man, what else is there? Right. Patreon, you get a lot of good stuff on Patreon, by the way.
Yeah, you do.
If you haven't dropped a like, by the way, if you haven't dropped a like, you should. Or a dislike. It doesn't matter. Drop whatever.
Right. But if you're on Patreon and you donate $1 a month, you can get all of the scripts.
Yes, all of our video scripts.
All of our video scripts.
It's amazing. You get all those tomes of information for $1 a month. That's crazy.
And once we hit our Patreon goal, we're going to start development of
The High Place.
The High Place, which is like a comedic
It's more of a dramedy.
Yeah. About God.
And Jesus and
all the other things up in the high place.
Yeah, and you know what? Our writing is damn good, I think. We need to write a script, but the story arc that we have is fucking awesome.
Mm.
I helped a little. Thanks.
So
we got Facebook and Twitter.
We got a BitChute.
BitChute, that's true. Links in the description. We got a Teespring. Remember, until the end of the month, you only have like 5 more days left.
Yeah.
You can use the promo code LOOK and get 10% off on
caps,
everything.
LOOK.
Yes, because it's the discount behold.
Yep. Well, with that being said, I think we're done here for today.
Yeah, we are. Hopefully we get a new graphic soon. But as the graphic says, we will see you Sunday.
And Friday.
And
Thanks
Friday.
for watching.